Hi, I'm Luke. Welcome back to Leicester City Down Under. It's kind of doomsday right now. Gonna bring in James. Mate, thank you for joining. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. It seems strange having a weekend with no football, but never mind.
No football, but plenty of panic still.
Yeah.
James, mate, where do we begin? This is just getting worse and worse. How are you feeling about the whole thing right now? Are you stressed? How are you feeling?
Um, I think it's a horrible situation that we're in at the minute. I think some of the people at the club have made some silly decisions, let's say, to get us where we are today. We just have to try and weather out the storm, and hope it doesn't affect the players on the pitch and get promoted. I think that's the key thing now, is trying to shut all this away and just get promoted.
Mate, that is a very good point. That is what worries me more than almost anything. Is this going to have a knock-on effect to the players and the confidence and the morale? Because it's not the days where you just have journalists in the paper anymore. Everyone's got a phone. Everyone can access social media. They're going to be well aware of everything that's happening right now. They're not.
Yeah, totally. The best situation is go up, if I'm being perfectly honest. The EFL have put an embargo against the signing players. You go up, that embargo gets lifted. There's other sanctions they're trying to put on us. You go up, that they can't touch us. If you do go up, then you're under the Premier League rules of points deduction. But it is what it is. We've seen Everton and Forest getting points deductions. If we went up and got a 6 point deduction, 6 points not a mountain to overcome. So I
Yeah,
think for me, just concentrate on going up and just take the 6 point hit.
that leads me to a good point. I can read the statement if you want, but I've got it here. The main thing I want to read from this statement that I think you'll appreciate is I won't read the whole thing because I'm sure you've already read it and a lot of people have. But if you want to see it, anyone that's watching, you can go to the Leicester City website. But here it says, we reaffirm the club's position that we will continue to fight for the right of Leicester City and all clubs to pursue their ambitions, particularly where these have been reasonably unfairly established through sustained sporting achievements. So it's not just us, it's other clubs. Like if, you know, Nottingham, Chelsea, and not Chelsea, so where they should be pinged, but like Nottingham and Everton and Leicester, possibly even Leeds are talking about now. How many clubs are going to start potentially next season of a points deduction? It's ridiculous. So they're going to have to obviously sort this out. And my main question I want to ask you, James, is how this 3 year profitability thing works. Because does the third year, is this the loophole? Is the third year scrapped because we've gone down? And if we go up, hypothetically, does the 3 year thing begin all over again? Can we still pump money if we go up into the club with this embargo and start all over again?
Um, so the 3 year thing is basically you can't have more than 105 million loss over 3 seasons. Is basically the rule. Um, so year one we had a 60 million loss year one. However, 30 that got halved due to COVID. So in essence, year one we got a 30 million loss. Year two we got a 96 million loss, which then puts us 20 20 million over the threshold. And then year three was the disaster year. We got relegated. Brendan Rodgers got sacked, which would have cost us a massive fortune to get rid of him due to the silly high contract he was on. We'd lost players. So in essence, he had to come out of year three with a 20 million profit at a minimum to not break the rules. And obviously that didn't happen because we got relegated. We sacked Brendan Rodgers and other things, wages, etc. So we're never going to do that. And basically, we're in breach of the rules. I think I've seen the statement. Yes, let's fight for it. Let's fight for other clubs to get that changed. And I think it's right that you do fight for other clubs to get that changed. However, I think we knew the rules 3 years ago and we broke them at the end of the day. The rules haven't changed in them 3 seasons. Going into season three, as a club, we knew what we needed to do, and it didn't happen. Um, so I think it's really difficult. I think the club didn't see it as bad as it got. Kind of makes sense why they tried to not sack Brandon Rodgers, um, because in all fairness, if we'd have kept him for that season and sacked him after that season, that'd have saved us what 15 million. So I think sacking him didn't help us at all. And we went down anyway, so what was the point?
I know what you're saying. It was and then again, that's even more money we would have had to pay to Dean Smith as well. And what really, I know you've been vocal about this. I've heard your other shows as well talking about this, but last season, Perez, Tillerman, Sionsu, Mendy, Evans, nothing, walked out for all the good money we've made of Chilwell and Maguire and the Mahrez and Drinkwater, all the money we've made. We've lost a lot of it. And then you look at this season, if we've got an embargo, we can't look. Let's be honest. I doubt we're going to re-sign any of these anyway. But we've got Ward, Yannick, and Didi, Kell, Pratt all out of contract as well. So that's a lot of money just walking out the door from nothing. That's hemorrhaging money, is it not, James?
Yeah, totally. If you look back at it, season 2, probably we had a few bids for Tillemans. They weren't what the club wanted. But looking back at it, surely, I think getting money instead of them walking away free is more. But surely that's better for a business that you're actually getting money income coming in rather than them walking for free. And again, this season, you're going to get people walking for free again. You might not have got much money for them. Pratt's been linked with all sorts of clubs over the last few years, but not the money we wanted. Sometimes you have to make a decision that you have to cut your losses and just get rid to get yourself some money. But instead, we're still paying wages, so it's a tough decision the club had to make. And I think if you look at it, there's probably some bad decisions have been made over the years, and we've seen high contracts, and we can't get people out the door because they're on these silly high wages that the players are just not worth it.
That's the thing. You're exactly right. We gambled. It didn't pay off. We tried to, we had back-to-back fifth finishes. And then the next season we finished, I think it was 8th. We went deep into a quarterfinal, I believe, for the Europa Conference League. And these wages that were bought, like Samare, Daka, this was all for squad depth that didn't pay off. And then the Yannick and Bertrand, that's another person as well I forgot to mention. That was panic buys, I believe, when Fofana got injured, was it not? For when he had that brutal injury for the preseason game. I forgot who it was against. I think it was one of the Spanish league sides. But it's still it's way too much money. And like, and again, like if what I want to know is, right, where do we go from here with, if there's an embargo, is this only in the EFL? If we go up, it's business as per usual with a points deduction. It's so confusing.
So it's an EF. So basically, there's two representations, we'll call them. One's the Premier League and one's the EFL, and both have different sets of rules, etc. So we've been, well, the Premier League have tried to sanction us because basically the 3rd season we were in the Premier League and we broke their rules. So I understand why that's happening. They then asked for our accounts. We didn't give them our accounts, didn't give the EFL accounts. So the EFL are trying to basically throw the book at us by saying, you're in breach by the Premier League, so we're going to put an embargo on you. So the embargo lasts this season. If we don't go up, heaven forbid, we can't sign anyone. All the loanees will go back, and we just can't sign anyone going forward. Not the biggest problem in the world, because we've got quite a good squad anyway, but we'll need money, so we'll see some of that squad leave because a lot of them are Premier League standard players who will want to play in the Premier League. And you can get away with it for one season, but I doubt a lot of them will want to stay. If you go up, the embargo gets lifted, you can sign players, and I think you just take the 6-point hit, and I think that's the best thing. Even if we don't go up, the Premier League could ask the EFL to give us a point deduction anyway because the rules were broken.
That's what scares me. Like this, for this embargo to come out right now is to me disgusting. It was already squeaky bum time as it was with this blip with the remaining games that we have, and now this comes out, and like this is the last thing we need hanging over our shoulders. So we need that siege mentality. They need to fly me out to the change room so I can deliver a belter speech and fire the lads up. But look, James, I keep hearing different kinds of things, information. I'm hearing we still have time until, was it June or July, to balance the books. Is it possible to have a fight? Like, I would rather just take the 6-point hit, to be honest, but is it possible to have a fire sale and then would be all right, not take a 6-point hit? Because we still have the likes of Samare, Christensen, Daka. There is still sellable assets that we have, but I don't pot how much it would take to, or is it too late for that?
I think potentially it's too late. I think um, you'd have to. I think the problem is our income is really low as a business model. We haven't got that many sponsors. If you look at some of the bigger clubs in the Premier League, they have a lot of sponsors and a lot of income, and that helps them buy players and wages, etc. I think as a business, we probably need a few more sponsors to help with that going forward. Yes, you could sell your assets, but even if you went up and you've sold your assets, you've then got a bare bones squad, and to draw them 6 points back early next season would be an absolute nightmare.
Exactly. That's where I'm confused whether that's worth like having a pre-fire sale and then trying to re-interject money if we're allowed to with new players, but then I just don't know. I think I'm on board with you. I'd rather just take the 6 point hit and have players that want to be here as well. That's the other thing as well. We want players that want to be here. We don't want to force the squad we've got if people don't want to be here to stay and not play for the badge.
No, and I think I've seen things around, will this affect the players? The players will go one or two ways. One, they'll go, oh, it's awful, what's going to happen to my future? And then the other mentality they'll have is, stuff the EFL, we're going to go out there and win the league and prove you lot that we're better than this, and we're going to win the league and go up as champions. Because that would be the biggest thing for the EFL if we go up as champions. It's kind of right. Yes, you can throw all these sanctions at us you want, but we went up as champions, and that's what people remember at the end of the day. Who won the league?
That's it. That's it. Hopefully us and not Leeds. I never hear the end of it. This James, I forgot to mention to you before, how do you feel if we were to challenge this and take this to court? Does that frighten you a little bit? Because that's money in itself and court fees. And if it backfires, are the repercussions worse?
I don't know. There's been one name branded around, which you've probably seen on social media, of who the lawyer is that they've got involved. He's the best sports lawyer in the country. I think he's worked with Man City in the past, and we all seen what he did with Man City, and there are 115 charges that have never been brought up since. He's a great lawyer. If anybody can do it, he can do it. Basically, if you remember, do you remember the Super League? The Big Six tried to create a Super League with UEFA.
Yes.
Well, I don't even know much about the Premier League. The same six created the Premier League. They wanted to create a breakaway league, and that's how the Premier League was born. And a lot of the rules, FFP, profitability, are all to protect. If you look at them, they're all to protect the Big Six.
Yes.
Because the Big Six will always have probably between $500 million and $1 billion income a year. So basically, they can buy who they want, have what wages they want, etc. Whereas the littler clubs that don't have much income, such as the Leicesters, Forest, Everton, Brightons of this world, is very, very difficult for them to be ambitious. And that's what Leicester City are basically saying, is we're trying to be ambitious, we're trying to compete in the best league in the world, but you won't let us because you're putting all these sanctions against us, and you're stopping the littler clubs being ambitious by having these rules. And it's right, there should be rules, but the rules should be fair on every single club in that division.
Exactly. It should be fair and consistent. Everton started of 10, they go down to 6. And then you have Forest, who I believe have gone to 4 points because they complied or something. It's just like,
Yeah.
there should just be a set points rule. And then why is it taking so long for City? This is just ridiculous. Have you even seen your MP came out today with a letter and a statement? Have you seen that?
Yeah. Same with
Yeah.
Forest and Nottingham's MP did exactly the same when they got
Yep.
done. They're basically trying to harm the littler clubs with these rules. Basically, we won the league and it upset a lot of people high up, and they didn't want little teams winning the league like we did. And since then, there's been lots of let's attack the littler teams while the bigger teams just get bigger and bigger. And I think it's just wrong. Like I said, it just if you can have rules, it's fine having these rules, and I think profitability rules should be great because there should be sustainability in this league and these clubs. And I think FFP is a good thing if used right, but I think at the minute it's just unfair of the littler teams that want to do well, want to get into Europe.
Exactly, because like if remove football from it, if you own a business, James, and you have, let's say, $50,000 to inject into your business, why can't you? Why shouldn't you? If you want to make your business better, if you want to improve, you should be able to inject any money that you want. It's just, and if there was more clubs, on that same level and that same, financial bracket, for me, that's more exciting because there's more competitiveness. You don't know who's going to be, instead of, oh, it's going to be the same big six every single year in and year out. To me, as an outsider, as an Australian, I think it is a better brand to have more teams competing. Like, we don't want to end up being like Scotland, where you've got Rangers and Celtic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. If you look at Newcastle's a prime example. One of the richest clubs in the world, massive rich owners, but they can't go around buying people because of FFP rules, because their income's nowhere near the big six. So they have to do. They're doing things gradually with the money. Well, they've got quite a lot of money. Let's be honest. So I think FFP can be fair. You just need to make sure that it's fair for all teams. And it just seems to be weighted towards the bigger teams at the minute because of their massive incomes, which none of the littler teams can compete with at the minute.
Exactly. So basically, unless you like do it, like, let's say Brighton is what we used to be essentially, right? They've Trossard and McAllister and the likes of lots of their players, Sanchez as well. They've bought and sold for great profit players, and then I can obviously reinvest it into the club. We've done something similar to that like 4 or 5 years ago, but that's now, we've had the Fofana, Madison, Barnes. Madison, I believe, was on our last pay as well. So I think Barnes will go through as the next financial year, I believe, as well, right? So, and Fofana was payments too. So, but let's say Fatawu is one I could see, in Hermansen in 3 or 4 years' time that we could make. If we would have signed Fatawu, these are the likes of players that I can see us turning a profit over. So, are you telling me that basically it depends on how good our scouting is to be able to get money? We can't just, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because we haven't got the fan base. So if you look at the big six, they're massive all over the world, and their fan base is massive, and they sell hundreds of thousands of shirts, etc. And their income is massive. We're a littler club, and there's lots of littler clubs like us that do okay, but don't have that kind of income. Best way to bring in income is sponsorship and basically sales and stuff. The expansion of the ground brings in massive income, massive sponsorship. So I think that's a good thing. But whether you still do it now, because we're basically in a financial kind of issue at the minute, aren't we? Because of all everything that's being thrown at us. So it is difficult, and I think it's really difficult times at the club at the minute around what's going to happen next. Because if you think about it as a business, they've broken rules, and surely someone has to be accountable for that.
We all want to point the finger at someone, but we don't know who. Is it Rudkin? Is it Whelan? Is it Top? At the end of the day, like, we've got to be thankful for Top. A lot of people are calling for him to step down and stuff like that. Let's not forget his dad died at our ground. He's probably still grieving. He's reminded probably of his dad was around us all the time. You know better than I do how much he's done for the community, the money he's put into hospitals and children's hospitals. I'm not sitting here thinking that Top's fully. I would feel really wrong to be blaming Top, to be honest with you. But it's at the same time, it's like lunatics running aside. This internal review they did with, was it Susan Whelan and Rudkin before the season started? That's like asking OJ in his court case to put his glove on and say it don't fit. Like, anyone can mark the homework. Do you know what I mean? It was ridiculous. Like,
Yeah, I think with Top, and if you think about it, when his dad died, he was quite young. To be told your dad's died, and then, by the way, you need to lead a business that's worth over $1 billion, and also a football club, and thrown into that must be so difficult for a person to deal with, because one, you're trying to grieve for your family, and he was close to other people in the helicopter, so that was awful. And then to be thrown as a head of a business when maybe his time wasn't right, because his dad would have wanted to ease him into that side of things as he got older. So he's been thrown into that. So I feel really sorry for him. and it must be difficult because he's obviously relying on advisors, which a lot of people do. I just think there's other people in the club, maybe middle management, that have just made some decisions. We've seen ridiculous contracts. There's been issues with getting tickets at times over the last few seasons when we've not seen the stadium full. There just seems some little decisions and also some bigger decisions that I think have really harmed us with this. But it's difficult to point the finger. Like I said, there was a review done. Generally, when reviews are done, they get independent consultants to come in to run that review, so it's not biased. Whereas they did it themselves, which I thought was really difficult. A message to send out saying, yeah, we know we've done wrong, but we'll do the review ourselves, and then we'll do some lessons learned, and then we'll make it right. Whereas what would happen is an independent company would come in, do the review, and they'd have recommendations that they would need to deliver to. But again, like you say, it's just like marking your own homework at the end of the day.
It's crazy. If it did a third party, like you just said, they would have given it to you blunt, they would have given it to you straight, and that would have been honest and confronting for top or the same. But at the same time, we could have sat there and like, look, I'm going to have to make some harsh decisions here, kind of similar to the Rodgers, tried to do the right thing, hung on to him too long. Regardless of what happens, I think something that there needs to be what you just said, a third party, like look into the club, like not not the board now, like, because it just can't keep carrying on like this, because I don't want to see, God, this is a depressing podcast. I don't want to see this club, be stuck in the championship for 20 years. Like, God, we really need to pump Bristol. If we concede early in that game, that could be toxic.
I think, to be honest, I think the international break came at the right time for the players. They were looking tired at times, so I think this break will do them all good, and I think they'll come back fighting. I think it might have also helped that Leeds are overtaking us, because that'll be a massive wake-up call for the players that we were so far clear, and now Leeds are ahead of goal difference. So I think we'll see a changed Leicester City, a more revitalised Leicester City that's going to go out there and start winning games. I've said all this season, especially after Christmas, we need to start putting teams to the sword. If we go 1-up, we should be scoring 4 or 5 in that half and just making sure teams can't come back. Because yes, we have been conceding late on, but if you're 4-0 up, a consolation goal doesn't mean anything. So I think we have to be more clinical going forward and have that killer instinct that we used to have.
Absolutely. Stop trying to walk the ball through through the net. These are the games of God. It'll be great to have Ricky P back, and these are the kind of games. I think this is it. Vardy's my number one man going forward for at least 60 minutes. These kind of energy and that leadership you want in the pitch. Mate, just to wrap this up, just to cheer us up a little bit. Talk to me about your bet with Kelechi and Nacho.
So we're in the championship, start of the season, and he was saying that Nacho would score over 20 goals, and I thought to myself, this is ridiculous, because last time he was in the championship, Vardy scored 8. I think he scored 18 goals, and he was on fire in that season. And I thought, for a player to score over 20 goals, and Nacho wasn't playing the best in the Premier League. He had good games and bad games. So I said to him, bet 20 quid he doesn't. And he's been dreadful all season. I think he scored 5. And I think Ant's given up on it now, to be honest.
Did you think that? I honestly thought that this was his chance in a league below. What if he's going to hit the ground running at his age, in his prime, 26? This will be the season. He likes to drop deep. We've seen Enzo play. Vardy drops deep now. Clearly, that's what he wants his strikers to do, end zone, that link-up play. But just for whatever reason, that style of play I thought would suit Kelechi. It just hasn't. So did you still expect him to do all right, or did you just flat out, you weren't sold on him?
I wasn't sold on. I thought, well, Vardy's the legend, one of the greatest strikers I've ever seen. If he can score 18 in the championship, there's no way any of the other strikers is going to match that, I thought. And I've been right. in his prime, he scored 18 goals. Yes, he scored more in the Premier League, but I just thought to myself, there's going to be blips in the season. There's going to be ups and downs in the season, which we'd expect anyway. But for him to score 20, I don't know when the last time he scored 20 goals. I don't think he's ever scored 20 goals in a season, has he?
I don't think so. So how much does he owe you? £40, is it?
£20.
£20. So look,
Yeah.
Ant, pay up now, and then we'll start a GoFundMe for this court case. Let's back the lads.
I think we need to.
I think we need to. James, anything else you want to add, mate? You want to plug all your channels and stuff like that before we wrap this up?
I'm usually on Ant's podcast, so check us out. It gets released on a Monday night on YouTube and then Tuesday morning on all podcast platforms. So give us a listen. It's just me and Ant ranting usually.
It's always a good show. I always look forward to listening to it at work. It's probably a lot more polished than what I deliver. But James, mate, thank you so much for coming in and taking time on your Saturday afternoon. I really appreciate it. And thank you for asking my 50,000 questions that I've been bottled up, ready to bombard you with.
No, come on.
Yeah. Honestly, guys, please follow James. He's really nice. He's been super supportive of me when I first started. And it's really nice to finally have him on here. So thank you so much, James.
No problems.
Just quickly, hello, Chris. Guys, subscribe to Leicester City to Die. Another top bloke. Neil, thank you for tuning in, mate. And Kate, oh, here we go. FFP came in 2011. Man City, Chelsea had already pumped in so much cash, and now the same competitors in the league can't follow suit.
She's not wrong.
She's on the money. She's not wrong. Guys, have a good weekend. I'll be back tomorrow, hopefully a bit more cheerful. And yeah, guys, it's not the end yet. We've still got 8 or 9 cup finals left. So come on, you Foxes.